Hey, what's up, friend? Are you a mama who wants to stop just getting by? Maybe you're motivated to grow yourself in your motherhood, your marriage, and you want it to bear fruit. Or maybe you want to stop letting the mom guilt, the shame, the limiting beliefs, and lies. Amen. That's me right there, sister. And start stepping into the woman and the truth that God has created you to be. While we're juggling all the things, right? Nursing a baby, battling laundry, trying to keep it together, and a spicy marriage. But where the heck do we start? Hey friend, you are in the right place. I am here to hold your hand through this journey because I believe when you're ready to take control of your life, beat the limiting excuses, and step into the woman God created you to be, you can not only survive, but you can thrive. But you're gonna have to show up for yourself. It's time for me to tough love your way through taking self-care seriously, investing and growing in your marriage, and owning your motherhood, and getting rid of those excuses because the glory is in the journey. It's in the mess. In this podcast, you'll find navigating mom guilt, mindset, and marriage strategies, and everything in between, with no fluff and lots of fun. Let's go. I want to remind you that the Marriage Method course is now available. If you want to fully give in to your marriage, you want to go all in 100%, and you want to get rid of that marriage. Maybe you really want to get back on track. Maybe it's that you fully want to feel 100% like yourself again. Maybe you really just want to find the joy in your marriage. You want to start prioritizing again. You want it to be the best. You want it to experience its fruitfulness that God has for you in store through your marriage, and you're ready to do the work and show up to deepen your marriage in a new and fun and exciting way. Y'all, do not wait till you're 10 years from now and you're looking back and you're like, what the heck happened to us? Like, kids are out of the house now. Who are we? What do we do with this relationship, right? Do not wait till you get to that point. Let's start enjoying our relationships, our marriages, and feeling 100% like the best version of ourselves right now. So that is you. Hop in. Look at the show notes on this episode. There's a link. You can go there, check out what the Marriage Method is. It's amazing, by the way, but you can go look for yourself. Check out that link below. Hey guys, before you play this episode, I just wanted to give you a heads up. This episode in particular is a little sensitive in nature, as in we're talking about adult stuff, intimacy stuff. You know, I'm winking at you right now, okay? So if those kiddos are in the car or nearby or they can hear it, maybe this is an episode for another time. Put your AirPods in, put your headphones in. Do this while you're on a walk alone or when the kiddos are sleeping, because this is a mama's only episode, as is most of my episodes, but I think that they're pretty tame. This one, however, we are going to be saying explicit things. So just a forewarning. And also, you guys, this is one of the few times where you're going to hear me stumble over my words like 1,000 times, because this is such an interesting conversation about, well, hopefully your kids are in the another room right now, but this is such an interesting conversation about sex and how it affects our thought process, like getting to the possibility of having intimate moments and pleasure and stuff like that. And so, man, it was a lot for me to digest and chew on and to think about and to wrap my mind around, which I love, and also applying it to my own life and just those deep-rooted habits that you have from long ago. And so I think you're really going to find, no matter what stage of intimacy or what your relationship or your marriage looks like in the bedroom right now, I think everybody's going to benefit from this conversation with me and Janna, who you've heard on the podcast before. She's amazing, an amazing desire coach who is such a light for women who feel like they're alone and they feel like they must be the only ones, and that what happened to their sex drive? What happened to their, them enjoying sex in the bedroom and stuff like that? And she helps you figure it all out. So without further ado, let's get to the episode. You're gonna love it. Also, hey, heads up. I'm sharing this episode as a bonus today because Janna is offering a series of free classes, The Real Reason for Lack of Desire and the 6-Step Solution to Reconnecting Again, every Monday and Tuesday. So if you're listening to this late, you could still hop in and watch the replays or continue to check in and see them live, but you will learn how to have fun with your husband without pressure to advance things. You know what I'm saying? Have fond memories of your last sexual experience so that way you can look forward to the next instead of dreading the next. know what you like and feel in control of your desire, and also feel connected and intimate with your husband. You guys, I urge you. She is amazing. You're going to hear that in this episode now. And then if you go back and look at my episodes with her previously on this podcast, you will love her and you will see how impactful she can be to your life and your marriage and relationship. So hop into those. I'm going to share the links in this episode below, but let's get to this episode. All right, let's get it. Hey guys, I am super excited to have what I would like to refer to you, Janna, as is our in-house desire coach because I go to you for everything, like everything intimacy. Like I'm looking at your page. I am always telling the girls in my Facebook group about you, and I've talked about you on the podcast endlessly. But Janna Denton House, she has been on the podcast before, and just an amazing resource and light for women in the world, basically to own your body, your sexuality, your desire, like all the things. And Janna, you and I were talking yesterday about, gosh, like something that you're going through with your Facebook ads, and I've been just stewing on it, and obviously you have, because it's been detrimental to your business and to your message and what women need to hear. But it's so important because like we were talking about yesterday, I was in this place where, you get to the season in your marriage or the season in your life or whatever, where you're Googling and you're like, okay, how do I fix my libido? Or how do I feel sexy in bed and all this stuff? And everything is telling you, okay, step one, like do all these things. And it's all targeted to make you feel, maybe not intentionally, and maybe sometimes it is intentionally, to make you feel broken. And so I just want to talk about that today. That was like a heavy intro, but I just realized, I was like, holy cow, we just went in deep. But let's talk about this for a second, because I want to talk about how Facebook is not letting you put your ads out. And then also like what that continues to tell women today about their desires and their sexual or intimate experiences. Like what are your thoughts?
Yeah, let's jump right in. And I do have an update in terms of Facebook ads, so I'll definitely share that. Yeah, some magic happened this morning. But what I'm really seeing is this weird phenomena where we have the media. So like my daughter is into watching Grey's Anatomy. Please, nobody judge. It's just happening. And so we sit together. I've decided that that's my middle way, is we sit together and we discuss and we talk about what's going on. But that is exactly what's happening, is that we are watching all of this content around sex that is disordered, that is not helpful to female sexuality, that is creating huge expectations about what it's supposed to look like. And it's putting all of the emphasis on performative pleasure, not real pleasure. So we have this enormous access to sexual content, so to speak. And that's not even talking about the easy access of pornography.
Right.
But then on the other hand, we have nowhere for people to actually get real education, to real healthy, honest steps forward to create a sex life that feels nourishing and safe and comfortable, and something that you aren't just grinning and bearing through, but actually fondly looking forward to, whatever that looks like. Even the word desire or passion has been hijacked by society. And it even using those words, even pleasure, can bring a lot of pressure, right? So yeah, it's been so interesting for me the last 4 years to navigate this very odd world where you are not allowed to talk about sex. That's very clear in our culture. Do not talk about it. And yet we're getting inundated by sex. What?
Literally everywhere.
Yeah. And who's losing out? What I'm seeing is it's women.
Yeah. I feel like 100%. Now, obviously there is like, you know, other scenarios where, you know, males are having issues as well, or, you know, being mistargeted or whatever. But for us, like from elementary school, right? Like they put you in a room. Like my parents didn't have to talk with me, and so especially not this aspect of like, hey, you're gonna get to a point to where like you're gonna have kids, your body's gonna change, things are gonna feel weird, life is gonna get busy. So what used to be fun for you, like, may change, and that's okay. Like I never had these conversations. So then, you know, we have elementary school conversations where it's like, you have this, you know, there are two parts, and then that's it. Like, right, like this happens, and then you know, either wear a condom or use birth control, and then that's it. Like there wasn't anything about like anything, and then there was no follow up. Right, there's nothing, and so it is so scary, which is why like I love having you on, because so many women that I talk to, and then in personal, like one-on-one relationships, because we're afraid to have this conversation in group settings, which I am trying to break through to my Facebook group. I'm like, let's talk about this, because you're all telling me one-on-one, or when I'm with you having a girls' night, like, and we all feel isolated, and we all feel alone, and we're all up late at night, you know, after an upsetting situation or attempt at intimacy with our spouse, like trying to Google what's wrong with me, how do I fix this, and I just picture other women in that same position, and it's heartbreaking. Like, and then you share all your stories about, you know, your women and their successes, and I'm just like, gosh, everybody needs a Janna in their life. Like, and then when you said that Facebook, you know, was not allowing your ads for your health, that you literally aren't even promoting anything offensive or like vulgar in any way, like, I'm just like, no, like we need more of her, because it affects our mental health too, you know? So just so much.
Yeah, it really does. You know, you brought up a really good point that the imbalance, it doesn't just hurt women, it hurts men too.
Yeah.
So it's just all, it's disordered, and it's not in proper balance. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, men may think that they're getting what they want, or that sex is kind of designed from a media sex formula perspective to be more, you know, penis and vagina kind of thing, right? Which one may think that's what men need. But what I've discovered is it's actually leaving them feeling very empty. And they may have an orgasm every time, for example, but that connection and closeness that they are craving is not there, because let's be honest, having sex with somebody who's doing it out of duty,
right,
it's not pleasurable. So the idea is not to force the woman to have the same kind of sex, but not in duty. The idea right. is to co-create a sexual experience that is actually fulfilling the true purpose of the sexual experience, which, from what I have discovered through surveying and listening, is connection. That's what a lot of people are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that one of the hugest breakthroughs in my own marriage has been the realization that my husband and I are wired differently, and us communicating that to each other, that like he needs intimacy to feel connected, and I need connection to be intimate.
Yeah.
So knowing that, like, you know, because there was always this like misfiring of actions, like, you know, he was trying to be intimate to feel connected to me, and I'm like, whoa, like I've had a kid on me all day. I like wait a second, right? Like I just feel like it's give me. So like I need you to like hear about my day, even though it was mundane and boring and blah blah blah, right? Like I just need to have this sort of connection to you, to where I don't feel like I'm just providing a service. Like here you go, like you know, like I'm serving my toddler all day long, and yet again, like somebody else is asking me to serve them. And so that was probably like one of the hugest things to realize, like when he comes home and he's
forgetful or whatever. Maybe he felt like we connected. For me to communicate, hey, like, I don't feel connected yet. Like, can we hang out? Can we talk? Can I, go for a walk and then, like, we could start over or whatever, and that has been one of the biggest barriers for us that we have been able to knock down. And then, I mean, just that alone has impacted our intimacy hugely, just being able to know that about each other.
Yeah, it's so important. We live in our own world, and there is this inclination to think that everybody thinks the way that we think, or also knows what we're thinking. Or if we say it one time, then it's going to magically happen every time, and that we're never going to actually have to ask for our needs to be met in the future. So I hear women say that a lot. Like, I told my husband this and he doesn't listen, or, he never initiates conversation with me. And so there is a piece where you have to continue to assert your needs and to share and be clear. But, you bring up a good point, because this is something I hear a lot. And there is a little bit of a hiccup that can happen with this mentality in some couples. And that is, it can turn into talking is my thing and sex is your thing. And so I really help women take ownership of sex and really help them see that it can be a self-care practice. Actually, it should be a self-care practice. Not that the sex they're having now should somehow magically become a self-care practice, but that it must be designed in that way. So at the end of a long and exhausting day, and I don't have sex after a long and exhausting day. Just being real with you, I cannot have sex in the evening. So I have sex in the morning. But if it was happening like that, or if you had no control over, maybe you have little kids, or maybe you have a chronic health condition, and so you can't be at your peak performance, so to speak, then you can think about sex and feel like it will provide the needs that you need in that moment. And so talking can be part of the sexual experience. Actually, I talk nonstop through my sexual experiences, because you can talk and touch at the same time. You can have nourishing touch. You can be wrapped up in a cozy blanket if you need to. You can, have him brush your hair. I mean, there's so many things when we look at sex from an expansive perspective, rather than this narrowly defined, formula.
I feel like we get most of our measurement of what that looks like from the things that we've seen on TV, or
100%.
Right, because we don't know anything else. So we're like, oh, it's supposed to look so dramatic like that, and so like, and then we get in our heads about it, like, well, my chin doesn't look like that from this area, like this angle. So like, what am I supposed to do with that? But I think I love that you brought up that about it being a pleasurable experience for her. Like, it shouldn't feel like a duty. And then one of the free classes that you have right now that I feel like everybody has to take is about the real reason for your lack of desire. And it hits home for me because after you have kids, your hormones change. And also what you like and what you don't like changes. Or at least for me, it did. So, when I was young, it was like something else, right? And then like now it's a whole nother evolution of intimate and touch and conversation and connecting, and to where I didn't know that was okay for it to shift in that way. And so I thought that it was me, right? Because I was no longer enjoying it. I was no longer having fun. It was no longer making me feel connected. So then I thought it was a me problem, which is kind of what I want to focus on today is that brokenness. I mean, and then like I said, you were talking about this a little bit in your video of like, you can just imagine women who aren't seeing what you're seeing, what they need to be seeing, like your message, and because they feel broken and they feel alone, and then all that's showing up on their computer screens is like, take this pill, like then you'll feel more energy, or whatever, and that's okay. But yet you're saying like, no, it's something totally else. We have to dig deeper, and gosh, so let's dig into maybe some reasons. I don't know where you want to take this, but like where, why are some reasons that we deal with this? How do we go from there when we're feeling like I was, where it's like, what is wrong with me? Why am I broken? Why don't, what is it, my libido? What is my libido? I feel like that's what and then everybody's like, oh, exercise, it'll make you, right? I know you're rolling your eyes right now because you've seen all these answers. You've seen you've done the Googling and you've seen the answers that they come up with. And then we're out there like fools, running a mile, trying to get pumped up for this thing. And then it's not working out for us.
Yeah. I mean, the whole premise, even with the term low libido or low sex drive, is there is something wrong with you.
Right.
It's like a medical diagnosis. It's actually like this ridiculous diagnosis, this hypoactive desire disorder. Mm-hmm. And that's what the makers of these pills are going after. And quite honestly, because I've served thousands of women now, I've seen patterns of what well-trained therapists and coaches and counselors are telling, and physicians are telling women, and it is along the lines of, okay, let's dig in and figure out how we can fix you. Let's look at the trauma you've experienced. Let's look at your hormones. Let's look at, medication side effects. The sole focus is, this woman is broken. She's not working optimally, because we use the word sex drive being something that is necessary for survival, like sleep or eating, but it's not a drive. But because we're looking at it from this kind of medical perspective, we are missing the mark. And this is why you have women who go to professional after professional and they're not able to get answers. So if it's not the woman, what is it? And this is the investigation that I had to go through, because I was so done feeling like I was the one to blame. And I started to just get really curious and observant about my true feelings. I just started telling the truth to myself. And the truth is I wasn't feeling safe all the time in my relationship. I wasn't feeling comfortable. I was married to a wonderful man, but the advances, the subtle coercion and pressure, hey, you want to do something tonight, honey? All like the little tap on the ass. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. We've already gone too far, Janna, so I don't think the ass is gonna.
This is going to be, yes. Talk about censorship. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, like the touching, coming out of the shower and wanting to put your towel on right away. That's not normal. I want all women to hear it. That is not okay, and that's not normal to feel that way. And we have created a culture in which it's kind of funny. Yeah. Like it's kind of relatable. Like, oh yeah, guys do that. No.
Yeah.
No, guys can't do that. So that's one aspect that I found, was that if I am not feeling safe, I do not feel pleasure. So boundaries and bodily autonomy and consent become incredibly important when we're talking about sexual pleasure and desire. And I just want to reiterate, this is happening in very happy marriages from the outside. Right. It's just because we've normalized it so much.
Yeah. And I wonder too, like, if this doesn't happen, like, that unsafe feeling, not necessarily because your husband is unsafe or your spouse, but because, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think, because like with me, some of those things I could relate to, but it has no, like, maybe, I don't know. Now I'm like digging into this because.
Dig in. Yeah. Go deep. You'll find it, but it's so normalized.
But, yeah. Like, and so, yeah. And I do think that, that is a hard struggle to get over, because then you think it's you, and it's not necessarily that they did anything bad. There's just, I feel like, a disconnection or some sort of like, you guys just need to get on the same page about the way that you need to be pursued. I don't know. Break this down for me, because
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand this is most of what I teach, I'd say all of what I teach is a bit of a mind bender, because I am questioning some really deeply held, ingrained cultural norms. And so the idea is not to blame anybody. This isn't
right.
You or your husband. Nobody is to blame except for culture. And it has been since the beginning of time that this has been happening for men and women. And I believe we're at the time in history where we need to root these out. And it starts with not blaming women, right? Because if we're blaming women, then we're not going to actually discover the real reasons. So the idea is that you start to become very curious about when you have this wanting feeling, this moving towards your husband feeling, and when do you feel this kind of closed off feeling or a little bit icky feeling, or you want to kind of cover up and not be with him. And it's subtle. And maybe you only get that open wanting feeling very, very infrequently. For example, I started to notice that I had this wanting feeling around my husband when he was distracted. So when he was watching a TV show or on the phone, because he was safe then for me to touch him, flirt with him, because there was a little bit of a safety net there for me. Because he wasn't then going to touch me in a way I didn't want it, or I wouldn't have that expectation to advance things.
Do you think that there is, I think expectations is a big word, and I think that's probably a big barrier for a lot of people is, I've heard women say, we'll go on a date night, and then at the end of the night, I feel like he expects it. So I'm already freaking out about it, whereas again, something it's different for each unique personal relationship. But I feel like expectations can put a real hold on things because, for whatever reason, either we feel like it's a demand to perform, or we got to show up a certain way, or somebody's going to be disappointed, or we may be feeling self-conscious about our body, at the time, or for me, sometimes when I'm super go all day and my husband had a slower day, if, he's pursuing me, we're a little off balance there, to where I need to get to a moment where I'm not sweaty. I don't have a toddler drooling on me. I'm not running a mile a minute. Right. But if those expectations are there, then automatically, or I feel or I assume, then I think that triggers for a lot of women to shut down, or to, have that to where it's oh, I don't want to touch him. I don't want to cause this trigger of expectations to now I have to do something A, B, and C after I do, whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I hear that almost all the time from women, and it makes sense, right? Of course, if we don't want this domino effect to happen at the end, where we have to provide this need for our husbands, where we don't feel comfortable and it feels strange. I'm using very gentle words here because it can feel more than that.
Right. No, I think what I'm realizing, we've had conversations before, but this is so complicated.
It really is.
I don't know how you do this. I'm yeah, it's so complicated, but you have a way of getting in there.
It's not so let's just say it's not complicated. It's very simple, but it's very profound, and it's not easy. But the concept of I get to feel and you get to feel 100% safe and comfortable 100% of the time. That's a simple concept, and it's actually a basic human right.
Yeah. See,
the complicated part is culture.
Yeah. See, I think what's tripping me up is that I've been able to get to that place, but I did it like in the dark, you know? So I'm like, okay, how do I make sense of all of this work that we do? This, like, you know, my husband and I trying to figure things out together, which luckily I have a husband who's here for it, right? Like, he's like, okay, you know, but like, I don't think that that's a healthy way to do it. So like, maybe I want to dig into, how does she get to that point? So like, I feel like women can relate to what you're saying. Like, I get, like, yes, that's me. I, you know, try to like sneak past him so he doesn't put the moves on me or whatever. But I feel like the next step is to, then they want to know, like, well, how do I get that feeling to where I either feel safe or I have that desire again, or you know, or I'm getting pleasure and I'm enjoying this part of our relationship. Like, what is the next step?
Yeah. And that's such an important question, because we do want to just freaking fix this thing. You know, we just want to like want sex more. I just want it through. Like, when I do surveys, everyone thinks 3 times a week. I don't know where this idea of 3 times a week is, but everyone, when I say, what do you want? They say, I want to have sex 3 times a week, or I want to
it's every other day. I'm going to tell you right now, it's because it's every other day. There's no logical thing to it, but that is what I'm guessing, because that is exactly what I would think.
But that's how these women aren't speaking to each other. No one's speaking to each other, but yet we all know what we're supposed to be doing. It's wild. It's so wild. Because you are a unique person, and you're in a unique combination with your partner. Okay, so you're asking how. Well, the first step, just imagine you're trying to relax.
Okay.
Imagine that you're in like a meditative state, and you're focusing on relaxing your body, and you're maybe doing progressive muscle relaxation or deep breathing. And that when you start when you're like up high at a 10 level energy, and you want to get down to a 0, and you get down to like a 7, and then you're not at 0, you're not nowhere near relaxed, and that you're like, okay, all right, I need to jump up and I need to go about my day because I've had a moment to relax.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't really relaxed yet. Or let's say you get interrupted or whatnot. We need you to get to 0. Like, we need to take you all the way down to the place where you really feel safe and comfortable. Not just okay, I kind of had that 50%. So you have to get radical with it. And that's why my program works, quite honestly, but it's also why it takes work. You know, it's not a Band-Aid solution. So what I actually do with the women I serve is we take a complete break from sex. 4 weeks. No sex.
Okay. You're starting from ground zero then.
No sex. And it used to be 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I extended it a week. And also the women are the initiators of the physical touch if they want any at all.
Okay.
And wouldn't you know, around week 2, week 3, the Facebook group and our program explodes with women saying, oh my gosh, I looked at my husband today and all I wanted to do was touch him. It comes back. Yes, it explodes, because safety, when women feel safe, it's incredible. It doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive. Okay, come in, want it more. Okay, now, I mean, you can imagine what some of the men think about this. I'm
sure you get inboxes of like, what are you telling my wife?
I know, this feminist ridiculousness. No, but then I hear from men afterwards, and they say, Janna, I had no idea what I was missing because I've never actually had it. I was just so focused on getting these quote unquote needs met that I was missing what I was actually craving. It's like eating sugar, right? And your body is just this temporary little high, but you're really craving that protein, long lasting, satisfying meal.
Yeah. Do you think it's because it gives women an opportunity to feel ownership over their body again? Like we're owning it, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that is what would happen.
Yeah. And while they're taking the break from sex, that's what we're working on. We're working on their connection with themselves, their connection with their intuition, and their connection with their pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. It is powerful when you love your body. I feel like I wish that I was in that place, 10 years ago. It's been a tiptoe journey towards that, but to where now, it's like, why do I cover up in front of my husband? And for me personally, it's because I couldn't give what I didn't have. So I didn't have love for my body. So he saw it as amazing, right? And this wonderful thing, but I didn't. And so I didn't want to share it because I didn't have it to give. And then once I was in that place of, man, like, despite all the marks or all the stretches or all the flaws that I think that I have, or whatever, really owning and feeling confident about my body and loving my body. And then it was like, and now it's not a big deal because I see what he sees and I want to show it off, or I love it and I appreciate it. And, so it's a whole different thing. And oh my gosh, has it impacted our intimacy, because I'm no longer trying to like hide in the corner, right? Like I am able to relax because I love my body. So why not? Right. Anyways.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Not a lot of women, I will just be honest about that. Not a lot of women will get to the point where they love their body in this culture we live in. There's just so many messages over and over again. So we work on body neutrality, which is, I have a thigh. Maybe we can get to, my thigh helps me move and I appreciate my thigh, or it may simply stay in, I have a thigh.
Yeah.
And then making sure that working on the connection with your body isn't so that you can be quote unquote sexy for your husband, but that it's actually for yourself. It is actually a relationship with your body that you want to develop and listen and nurture for your own pleasure and happiness. And when we do that, then it does naturally spill out to those around us.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. I don't know what women do without you. I'm like, I think it's a gift that you have to be able to see insight and different perspectives and to help women from all different situations navigate that. Because just like I was sharing my, journey, and then you're like, we're sharing the thing about the body parts. And I was like, oh yeah, like I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought like, we just all need to love our body. You just need to all get on my level. Right. And, but I love that it can be attained at different levels that works perfectly for each person.
I think my main message is that it makes sense that you are struggling, and it's not your fault that you're struggling in all areas, whether that's to prioritize pleasure in your everyday life, whether that's to connect with your body, whether that's to create boundaries and have a voice and feel worthy. It's not your fault. And I think sometimes in the self-development world, especially with women, we end up having these things become another thing on our to-do list, or another thing that we're failing at. Like, why can't I just love my body? What's wrong with me?
Right.
And we need to always take that blame and have that self-compassion for ourselves, that we live in a world that has been phenomenally detrimental to women's safety and comfort and bodily autonomy and all the things that we're talking about today. And so having that just clear truth always ringing in our head, that yes, we're doing the best we can take steps for our empowerment and growth, but let's just be honest about the world we live in.
Yeah, I like that. And that's such a powerful message, which makes me come to one of the last things that I wanted to talk about, which is that idea that we need to, like you said, loving and appreciating your body for you, right? And so how do we get to the point to where it's not that we feel like we need to change anything to love our bodies or enjoy sex with our husbands, I don't even know if that's a quick question. Like, how do you get us out of that mindset, Janna? Tell us in 2 minutes. Go.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Well, we have an affirmation or a mantra that we use, and that is, sex is good for me. Now, a lot of education has to go around that phrase, because not the sex you're having now is good for you. But what would you design? What would it look like if you went into the experience expecting that from a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical perspective, it was good for you? Like, for example, like, what would you be wearing? What would the environment be like? Would you be connecting and talking? Would you be reading poems or saying prayers together or singing or humming? Would you be talking about your relationship and sharing what you appreciate about each other? Would you be having a heat pack nearby because you're cold all the time, or wearing socks? Or what would you be wearing? Would it be soft cotton, or do you want clean sheets? Do you like a blanket on you, or do you like a sheet? Do you want to be naked? There's so many things that you get choice over and you can design. But because we don't even know that's a possibility for ourselves, we stay stuck.
You're blowing my mind already. Yeah.
Broken.
The fact that you're like, you can have a heat pack in with you if that's necessary. Do you know how many times that I'm cold and I'm like, no, I'm cold, I don't want to.
Bring in I've got a heat pack. I've got a electric heater right in my bed.
Yeah.
I also have like one I can put in the microwave, and it's full of like beans or something.
Yeah.
And it's got weight. I love weight. So sometimes I'll get my husband to put his leg over me or his arm over me, or just put a lot of blankets on me, because I like that sensory feedback.
Like that weighted blanket kind of security.
Exactly. Bring that into the sexual experience. Bring in, do you like to stroke your husband's hair? Do you like to put your head on his chest and listen to his heartbeat? Do you like the feeling of the soft skin on his neck? Spend time with that. Spend time with his body. There's no rush. There's no goals. There's no pushing for anything. If sex is about connection, which is what everybody says,
right,
then what are we doing having these goals that aren't necessarily leading to connection?
That is so crazy. It's
so crazy.
You're right, because it's so black, and like it seems so black and white. Like, you just go in there, do the thing, and you don't, and like you said something earlier, I can't remember, or just a second ago, I can't remember what the word used, maybe experience, or but then I was like, wow, like that is a whole mindset shift in and of itself that changes the whole dynamic of what sex is, or an intimacy encounter with each other, thinking that, hey, I can actually bring a heat back. Like, why do we, like, it's so simple, but like all you think of is that you need two bodies and a bed, like, right? And like, for whatever reason, we can't expand our minds to be like, let's bring in a weighted blanket, like,
I know. And yet weighted blankets can be incredibly pleasurable. Mm-hmm. So I had, and I'm constantly trying to refine how I communicate this, right? Mm-hmm. And I always learn so much from my participants and from my alumni. And one woman, she's been in my world for about a year now, and I was giving a workshop. I have an alumni membership, and I was giving a workshop around there about how to get out of your head and into your body in the sexual experience.
Oh, okay.
And she came after that workshop, having been in my world for a year, and she goes, Janna, I just got it. It's an exploration of senses. That's all it is. That's what sex is. It's an exploration of senses. In fact, I don't use the word sex in my marriage. It's too heavy. Some words I can reclaim, like pleasure, I've reclaimed, and I use it very frequently with myself and my children and my family. But sex is something that has been so heavy. So we call it our exploration dates.
That is so insightful. Okay. We could, this is what happens every time I have you on, because just literally everything that you say turns into something else that I'm like more interested in. So I will say we will end with what, of course, I want everybody to go join your group, because I feel like everybody at different, wherever you are, and, you know, whatever your experience looks like currently, we could all benefit from having that community and also your knowledge to help us have a healthier connection with intimacy or exploration, whatever that looks like for each of us. And so what would be, for the women listening, like what would she find, or what would be like, what would you say maybe the reasons why she should come into your group? Like, not to convince her, but I just want to be clear of like, so women aren't like, well, that's not for me, but really like we could all benefit from it. You know, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know when this is going to be aired, but I do run a free class 3 times a year. And that's really the best way to learn more about what I have to offer. Because I really, this conversation, we've gone through so many twists and turns and down different paths, but that's more of a step-by-step systematic, process that you can take. So I don't know when this is aired, but you can check out me on Instagram and you'll see lots of notifications there. But
is your group open right now?
Right
or
now.
Is it already over? It's open right now.
Yeah, right
now.
Okay,
tell everybody about it then.
Okay, so the free classes are on Monday and Tuesday. I don't know when this will come out, but it's happening very soon in a couple of days. And so if you register for the free class, I also have a free Facebook group happening right now where I'm going live and we're having conversation. And most important, I think you need to know you're not alone. If you know you're not alone, then you, number one, know that if you can see that it's a bigger problem than just you, your brain maybe will activate into thinking that, okay, if it's not just me, what is going on here?
Right.
Then the second step is to know that it's not you. Because if you think you're intrinsically broken, why would you ever take steps to fix anything because you're just broken, right? So I want to offer you hope. So there is a free Facebook group associated with the webinars. And then we'll be talking about Wanting It More, which is the paid program that I've been sharing a little bit more about. That's 2-month group coaching program. And we cap that at 100 women to keep it small enough, but big enough that you get this amazing community. So it's perfect for women women married to men, that's what I specialize in. If that's not your situation, if you're not married or if you're not in a heterosexual relationship, you're still welcome in the community. And I will do my best to use your pronouns and use what you want to speak about. But that, just so you know, I use that words husband and wife all the time. And I look at that male female brain dynamic quite a bit. So if you're a woman married to men who wants to want sex, but just doesn't, whether that you used to like it or you never liked it, whether you're experienced painful sex, whether you enjoy it once it gets going, but you don't like the getting it going part. This is it. I specialize in this one area. It was my unique experience. I struggled for 10 years. I couldn't find anybody to help me in the long run. I trained as a marriage coach, and then I designed this framework for myself. It worked, and now I've served over 1,000 women. So we'd love to have you in there.
And it's been amazing, like, to see all the things that you post about. I want to say this, and I want to call myself out here, because I have known you. I don't even know how I found you. And then I've known you for a while.
I contacted you. I wanted to be on your podcast. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I was thinking I somehow found you a long time ago, but still to this day, and I think what you just said is why I wanted you to, or what I was hoping you would say, but I didn't have the right words to get you there. But thankfully you got there on your own, is that we all have these different places in our life. Like you said, like maybe it's the getting it started part where you get stuck. And so I feel like we kind of categorize ourselves into these like, oh, well, I only have this issue right here. And so, but she has this issue over here. So like we're different or whatever. And to a point you are, but I also felt like that's what was holding me back from joining a group like yours is because I was like, oh, well, like, I'm not like that, but
yeah, it's not that bad.
Right. But I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Because like I said, my husband and I tried to figure this all out in the dark to where like we were disconnected. And then he thought that it was because I wasn't attracted to him. And then like, it just went down this like long spiral of us like trying to figure this life out. Right. And like, now we finally, I feel like got there, but still hearing you talk, I'm like, I still have some work to do probably. So I just want to encourage women who are listening that, man, like don't wait to get community or to have somebody like Janna speak life into your life, because I feel like there's so much blessing from knowing that you aren't alone. I feel like that's a huge part of this, the heaviness of this, of intimacy or pleasure in and of itself is that feeling brokenness and feeling like there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one. Why can't we have, and you have this comparison of like, why can't we have a sex like, Jim and Jane next door or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyways. And so I just feel like, I feel like everybody can benefit from you. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. And that I really want to encourage you guys to hop in the group. I'm going to put the link in the description below this episode in your podcast app. So yeah, I think was that clear enough?
Absolutely.
I feel really passionate about what you do, Jen.
Thank you. Join the club.
I don't understand it like you do, but it's mind blowing, but I love it. So yeah, where can everybody find you? I don't think you said your IG tag or anything like that. So real quick, throw that out there, and then we will let people get into the links below and get into your group and your community.
Sure. So I'm at Janna Denton House, no hyphen, on Instagram. My website is jannadentonhouse, again, no hyphen.com. And then if you wanted to register for that class, it's jannadentonhouse.com/free class.
Awesome. Guys, don't not do it. Thanks. I guess in many references. Thanks, Janna.
You're welcome.
Wow, I have the corniest jokes ever. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you found this episode useful, helpful, encouraging, empowering in any way, or this podcast in general, I would love for you to share this episode in your IG, your Facebook. Share this podcast out, y'all, because we are mamas and we do not have to feel like we are the only ones going through the struggles that we are going through, and it takes a village, okay? And I would appreciate it because, hey, when we are in it together, we feel less alone and we help each other grow. And I would love to see this podcast grow and reach other mamas who need to hear something that I have to say. Maybe it hits home for them in whatever way possible. But if it helps one obstacle that somebody's facing, I would love for that to happen, right? So the number one things you can do to support this podcast is share it out with your friends, snapshot the episodes that you're listening to, share them on social, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. All right, guys, hope you have an amazing week. I'll catch you next time.